victory for Newcastle by 2-1, where the man of the match in some people's eyes was a goalkeeper, Brandon Austin, who was making his debut after having been at Spurs for about 7 years. Fantastic display, and he has been rewarded with the fact Tottenham have just signed a new goalkeeper. News this morning, they have signed Antonin Kinski, Slavia Prague goalkeeper, 21 years old, for £12.5 million, and he's on a contract to 2031, so I think you can be looking for another club, Brandon.
Well, I hope they get the right Antonin Kinski, because his dad was also Antonin Kinski, who is, I think, 49, 50, and played for the Czech Republic 4 or 5 times in the early 2000s. And as memory serves, and a quick check on Google, he went to the Euro 2004 and the 2006 World Cup. Don't think he played. But
was that off the top of your head, or have you just been doing
rapid
rapid
I did Google it alongside reading Lose Weight manuals.
Henry's joined the gym, if you weren't with us a little earlier, and we will be following his progress throughout the rest of the season. So Newcastle beat Tottenham, but Ange Postecoglou, as you may have read and heard, wasn't really happy. He felt it wasn't a level playing field, all sorts of things were against Spurs, and after the game, he spoke to talkSPORT's Sam Matterface.
I mean, seriously.
What is the man talking about?
Well, we know what he's talking about.
Well, what is he talking about?
Well, first I thought Sam handled that superbly. It's Sam's job to ask the question. Sam, I'm sure, has got, we know, so Sam Matterface, a very good commentator. When you talk to Sam, he's absolutely got opinions on the game flowing through him. But it's in that period, whatever the sort of 2-3 minutes that he gets to quiz the Spurs manager, he wants to know his opinion.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Sam wasn't offering an opinion one way or the other on things. It's just, what is it that you're moaning about? Is he moaning about Joe Linton's handball in the lead up to the goal, for instance?
Yeah.
Would you have given that as a handball? His hand's down his side, accidentally hits his hand.
Says a Newcastle fan.
Well, hang on a sec. If he wants a level playing field, Anthony Gordon was absolutely flattened in the penalty area. Nothing happened. Dubravka was taken out studs high.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. So I think we'll level it up there, mate.
I had a short exchange with PGMO on that point, and they during the game, and they highlighted the fact that that the second phase element. So the sort of handball doesn't come into play. Plus, also the key thing is that they say it wasn't in an unnatural position.
In the previous rule, though, that would have been ruled out, wouldn't it? Because there was a handball in the build-up to the goal. But now it's much more, if you handled it into the goal, it gets disallowed, isn't it?
Yeah,
really.
exactly.
So it's changed. So that's sort of, there was a campaign to have that. So hard to complain.
Yeah, and I just thought that...
what else was he whinging about? Do you think, apart from that?
Well, he then kept on sort of using the same adjectives to describe his strike force, which is one of the tricks that managers use when they walk in and they're just deeply annoyed and they just go over the same thing again and again and again. And I actually thought, I like Postecoglou. I like the way that his team plays and the way they attack. There's a naivety to them. There's a stubbornness in his inability to sort of vary his tactics. But I think... overall, I think that there's a positivity to Postecoglou, which doesn't come over in interviews like that, and he just sounds a little bit churlish. And I actually thought disrespectful to an interviewer in Sam, who was being very measured, who was there. So, Sam wasn't being provocative. He wasn't stirring him up.
He did it to a few of the interviewers yesterday, to be honest. They were all trying to get to the point. And what is it you're annoyed about? And he wouldn't say. He makes a rod for his own back.
If you read the sort of the different editions of the newspapers, in the later editions, he actually appeared apparently about 2 hours after the game and said he was very, very angry. So he did get round to it. So just be straight up with people.
I don't know how much or which players were affected by the sickness bug, but when Tottenham brought on Madison, Bissouma, Son in the second half, they were a different side. I mean, Madison, to be honest, for all Newcastle's midfield was very, very good. Madison had the ball so much for the last 20 minutes, and when he's in that form and being sensible, he looks such a good player. But I think he's let himself down again recently by
going to the darts. Says the man who spent most of his week at the darts.
On the day that he had been at the game and hadn't been able to start because he was ill. He just used to use his brain a little bit the way he uses it on the pitch.
I agree. We went through that with Madison and the casino with the sort of the whole England thing, and that was a little bit naive. I mean, you can't begrudge young footballers
absolutely
a desire to go out, particularly with something like the darts. I can't imagine
and he
was yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at his goal celebration. But the one thing about Madison is that when he gets on the ball, and I was surprised Newcastle didn't do it, you have to close him down early, because if you give him a yard, he'll just sort of spread it right.
Really
but
difficult.
your midfield for about 45 minutes
very
after the sort of first 20 minutes and then into the second half, when Bergvall sort of slightly came more into it, I thought your midfield has just been outstanding. And your point that you often make to me about the tweak for Bruno Guimaraes.
Yeah, he's pushed on further forwards and Ollie's holding a bit more. Bruno, there are rumours Bruno had a few words, him and Eddie Howe had a few words, not nastily, about how he should play and be a bit more forward thinking maybe, and it certainly paid off. Bruno's dad was just behind us actually in the
was he?
Yeah, he proper follows
in the way end of the darts or at the football?
In the way end of the football. Proper fan he is, follows everywhere, and Bruno was fired up yesterday. I mean, that's one of the best games I've seen him play.
But isn't that good management by Eddie
good.
Howe, that he's prepared to listen,
Yeah.
and he can actually see the argument of a player who wants to play in a slightly
they're
different
gelling
position.
together really well. Joe Linton had the bit between his teeth, and it was really good. I mean, so Newcastle's resurgence since, as I said to Natalie earlier on, since we went to Brentford, beaten 4-2, and to be honest, a bit insipid that day. But Eddie Howe said at the time, "I can see it coming together," and you think, well, hard to see here, but he was spot on. And actually, Gordon more involved yesterday.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted to see from him. I've talked before about him being sometimes fleeting, one great run, one great cross, but then you maybe don't see him for a little while. Yesterday, totally involved, all over the place. Botman being back yesterday was a big
He's at
plus.
90%, isn't he? And you can see when he gains that extra 10%, that sharpness.
Do you know something else as well? You won't agree with this one, I know, but Dubravka on the ball with his feet is a much more confident feeling as a Newcastle fan than Nick Pope. Yeah. And I know you're supposed to make saves, that's goalkeepers' jobs, and Pope is brilliant about it, but honestly, Dubravka, top man.
One final player worth praising, Livramento at right back. That was excellent.
Yeah, very good. And Trippier had been playing well, and he's come back into the team. So all is good for Newcastle.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.